Hey guys, welcome back to another ITMOD review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the film Moonlight. This is a small film that I believe was just released a few weeks ago, and it's in limited release and it's starting to roll out in theaters now. So I was able to catch this movie, and I have to say that I was really impressed by this film. So Moonlight is basically the story about an individual as we kind of chronicle his life through childhood as a teenager and as an adult. And it's basically him trying to discover who he is and find his place in the world. And it's really, again, like we talked about in Arrival, really just like a character study about like identity and acceptance. But let's get to some of the actors now. The young kid that we follow in this story, his name is Chiron. Now he's played in 3 different stages of his life by 3 incredible actors. It is, and I'm gonna make sure I get their names right, Alex Hibbert, Ashton Sanders, and Trevante Rhodes. They play this one central character named Chiron. As an adolescent, he is known as Little. As a teenager, they call him Chiron, and then as an adult, he goes by the name of Black. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I just want to give kind of like my quick thoughts about what I thought of a lot of the actors, what I thought of the story, and just my overall feeling of the movie. Let's start. In the first act, we're introduced to the character of Juan. This is played by Mashallah Ali. A lot of people may know him more recently as playing Cottonmouth in Luke Cage, which he was phenomenal. And I have to say that he's been around for a very long time, but this year it feels like this is going to be a breakout year for him, and he's going to be a name that we're going to be hearing a lot about. He has a presence and a command when he's on screen, and I love watching him on screen. And the relationship that he has with Chiron in this first act is a beautiful relationship that they have, and you see how it progresses and how he really starts to care for this young boy. His girlfriend in this film is played, and I didn't even realize this until I saw the credits, and she did a great job, and she looks beautiful on screen. It was Janelle Monae. A lot of people will know her as a recording artist. I don't think I've seen her as an actress before, but she was really good as kind of like being like this caregiver for Chiron, and her relationship, a very warm, a very comforting, a very motherly presence that he needed in his life, because his mother played remarkably by Naomi Harris. And a lot of people may remember Naomi Harris more recently from the James Bond films Skyfall and Spectre as playing Penny, and she's such a beautiful woman, and her transformation physically in this role as being like this drug addict, abusive mother. I mean, she's almost unrecognizable, and that's done not just through her physical transformation, but also in her performance. I mean, it's deeply heartbreaking, not just to see her addicted to drugs in this film, but to see her relationship with Chiron, and how that affects him as he goes from adolescence all the way to adulthood. And I love how this film is kind of broken down into like this 3-act structure, and even within the film it's kind of broken into like chapters. And I just love how through each of these chapters we're discovering and learning more about the character of Chiron. This movie deals with a lot. I mean, again, like I was saying, it's throughout his life he's trying to not only figure out his own identity, but acceptance, and not just acceptance from his peers, but also from his mother. What really affected me personally was kind of like that second act where we get to see Chiron in high school, and the way they show bullying. That was tough to get through. That was really tough to kind of get through, because I kind of identified with that whole concept of bullying in high school, and being afraid to kind of walk home and always looking over your shoulder and never knowing when people kind of going to kind of come and pick on you, and that frustration that he has, and that's kind of boiled up, and it's there's a pretty good payoff for that at the end of that act, and the way they use sound in this film to really get you into the head of this character, the way sound is kind of drowned out, to really get you to identify that this kid is so frustrated that he cannot hear anything else outside except what's kind of going on in his own mind, and not knowing, you know, which way to turn, where to go, and the frustration. And you see that build up inside of him when you see him kind of going through the bullying at school. You realize that because of the relationship that he has with his mother, he really doesn't have a safe haven to go through. And you also can see how that can be frustrating for a young kid when you go to school and you have to deal with the torment and the confrontation of bullying, and then when you leave that, you have to go home and deal with that same those same issues at home. And he's just really just had no safe haven, nowhere that he can go where he can just kind of release and feel, you know, and feel safe. And there are some really satisfying payoffs in this film, in the third act, that we get to see between Chiron and his mother, and him coming to terms with who he is as a man. And it's a beautiful film. Barry Jenkins, who directed this film, his filmography, he's directed a few shorts. I believe this is his first feature, and for this to be someone's first feature film, this is a strong entry for him as a director. And just like with some other African-American directors that we've seen, Ava DuVernay, Ryan Coogler, I think Barry Jenkins is going to be a name that we should definitely keep our eye on. This is a strong first entry into his filmography as a feature film director, and I look forward to see what else he decides to do. He got great performances out of all of his actors. He did a magnificent way of pacing this film, a magnificent way in the way he told this story. And I mean, I would encourage everybody to check this film out. It may not be for everybody, but if you're a diehard film fan or a cinephile or just a person who loves storytelling, this is a film that you definitely have to watch. So I'm going to give my score now. I was going between like a 7.5 and an 8. I think I'll bump it to an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this film, and I definitely encourage you guys to go check it out. So yeah, guys, those are my initial thoughts. So go ahead and check out our podcast, ITMOD on iTunes, and we'll probably get more in depth on our podcast. So if you kind of like this review or interested about this film, go ahead and definitely check out our podcast, and we'll probably get more in depth, you know, with me and the other dorks. Speaking of my other dorks, go ahead and check them out at Sidewalk Siren, at Mouth Dork, and at The Disco Dork. So yeah, guys, so with that, me, Brian Young, I am the Turtle Dork, and with that, I'm out.
Thank you.